Hey, my name is Claire. I'm here having this book club with you here today because I think it's really profound for us all to be able to have this drive and want to read this book. I threw this out there on Instagram that I wanted to do this and didn't really expect to hear much about it from anyone. I guess that just goes to show that my surprise is real when that wasn't the case. There was a lot of interest from ladies I didn't know and ladies I do know and people I just came out of the woodwork. It's amazing. So I'm here today for you. I'm here today for me. I'm here today for us as we enter in this new decade, this new year. Really being pushed to go where we are most deeply, profoundly inspired to be. Just before starting this, I was listening to a video my favorite astrologer, Chani Nicholas, posted, and it was an interview with her today. And she's published a book. It comes out tomorrow, and she's getting press about it, which is amazing because she's an amazing astrologer. Go check her out. I'll post about her. Anyways, she said right now it's a pertinent time to do what you are here for, what you're called to do, what you're inspired to do, what you're good at. Now's the time because we can make a lot of change and we will make a lot of change if we do that. It's really exciting. So for me, this is a big part of it. I've been looking for a way for my my community network of ladies to get more useful, more out there, and the book club is going to be a huge thing for that because it's necessary. We're all ready. So I'm just going to talk about things that were inspiring for me, and I hope that y'all feel inspired to comment back. I'm going to get a YouTube platform up, and Network of Ladies will have a YouTube channel. I also already have started creating workshops, worksheets, exercises, guided meditations, all inspired from this book. That will be available in various different formats. I'm really excited because this is something that I feel very called to do. This is something I do every day with myself, with my friends, with my family, and I'm naturally kind of this counselor and life coach because you can't really be a counselor without being certified. And this is my leap. This is where we're going. So I hope it works out for you, and I hope you're inspired as well. First thing that really struck me in the intro, that she speaks that wildlife and wild women are both endangered species. She goes more into lands, mismanagement of wild lands, mismanagement of wildlife, predominantly in the US, a lot across the world. Right now we're experiencing massive fatal fires all throughout Australia. Earlier this year it was the Amazon. Last year, the year before that, it was where I was living up in Oregon and all throughout the Pacific West of the United States. The fire in itself is really huge right now. This intense burning of everything. It means something. Think on that. I don't want to tell you what I think because you'll probably not like me for it. Anyways, dive into it, meditate on it. What does all this burning mean to you? What does the burning of certain sacred lands mean to you? And how can we look at burning in our lives as needing to happen in order for new growth. Love to Australia. All those koalas. I wish that I could adopt one because I would love to have a baby koala right here. Okay, so anyways, mismanagement of the wildlife in wildlands, mismanagement of the woman. We have been told that we need to look a certain way, do certain things to our armpits. I have super hairy armpits and I don't do anything to them because it hurts. Shaving hurts. We're told we have to shave our legs. We're told we have to do certain things with our hair and our faces. It's total mismanagement. It's not what we're like naturally are. If you want to do those things, then that's great. That's up to you. But being told by society for so long just totally blows. I encourage you, a big part of my shifting as a woman and taking ownership of myself was not shaving anymore. I refused to spend money on razors. I refused to throw razors away and contribute to trash. Another big thing was tampons and like things I had to throw away. That's all mismanagement of the human or the female body. We should not be putting these weird cotton plugs up in our uteral spaces because it's not safe, and it's never been regulated by the FDA. And in the last few years, cotton tampons have become a thing, but I still don't feel good about it. I personally have rags that I use and clean, and then I use a silicone cup. There's a ton on the market. Still don't know how I feel about that, but I save my blood. That's decolonizing, and that's taking the wildlife in me back. That's taking the wild woman in me back. I use my blood for fertilizer. A lot of my friends have done that. I've never done it because I guess I didn't think I had plants to do it for, and I actually do, and I feel good about it. So I started saving, and now I feed my plants with it. Huge decolonization. I'm not buying fertilizer anymore. Like there's all these beautiful layers of our bodies and our selves that were taken away from us. And I'm gonna say decolonize because that's what it is to me. If you have a different word for it, that's great. Go for it, use it. You don't have to take, I'm not God. I don't really believe in a single one God either. We're all God, so don't take my word as offensive, please, and don't take it as the single only one thing. Manipulate your ways of thinking in there so that we can all come to one place. It's beautiful. I think we can all work together. But anyways, I think decolonize is the best word for these processes. So she starts off the book just like right there, like our world is a little bit twisted. Our view of the female body, a little bit twisted. Our view of the male body, a little bit twisted. Not as much. But there's now. Now's the time to look at that and acknowledge, like, if you don't like the way you're living, don't do it, please, because it is hurting your soul, it's hurting other people's souls. My soul certainly hurt for a long time until I started making these steps to get out of this colonization of my body. It's funny because like I look in the background and like it looks like pretty colonized background, and I live with my mom. I'll be completely honest right now. I live with my mom. I am on my way to moving back to Oregon where I feel more at home, and the spaces are a little more at home. So please don't judge me on my background. If you have beefs, just, it's fine. We all have our life. Anyway, so I really like, as we keep going into the intro, she uses phrases that are most beautiful, like psychic archaeological digs, like utilize these ways of not feeling good in our existence and like dig into that. Why doesn't that feel good? What doesn't feel good about that? For me, that meant ancestry and understanding more about my mother's line. I'm gonna adjust this a little bit because I adjusted. For me, that was more about understanding my mother's, the female line, so that I could understand myself, because we have these interesting tendencies that seem to be similar, that run through the line, and I'm like, why? There's got to be a reason. So through these psychic archaeological digs and going through the ruins of the female underworld, as she says, that is something that is crucial and needing to be done. This is what the book is asking of us, and that's why she's getting into all these stories. I've read this book now, the intro and the first chapter 4 times. I've read the whole book once, and it takes a lot to really like sink in. And reading slow is the best. I am always like, yeah, read fast. But as I get older, like, that's not really what I want to do anymore, because I'm not absorbing as much. So reading slower, it's easier to get the writing. So I just want to adjust a little my notes. Thank you for your patience. Something that was really necessary, I think, in definition was wild is not untame, unruly, what you think of as like a wild animal, out in nature and you can't trust them. Like, wild in the sense of this book and how we're speaking, wild means natural, wild means original, wild means innate feelings that are true to oneself. This is wild. It's not something like when people are like, ooh, wild woman. I think especially men turn it in a way that is not natural, that is like dangerous and like living on the edge. And it's like, no, I'm a wild woman. I'm real. I don't cut my hair in a way that I'm told to be. I live true to my own needs. I go out and I do things in nature that might look weird to other people, like pick certain plants for certain teas, or sometimes I just want to be in nature so I can pee on the ground and not on a toilet. That's also wild. It's natural. So that was a huge thing that I wanted to cover, was wild. It's original, it's natural. So I talked about ancestry, and I don't know how well y'all know your ancestry. In the United States, it gets a little muddy. We kind of just like stop talking about our ancestry. I'm gonna take my glasses off. It's hard to see. In the United States, some people stop talking about your ancestry, and it's not as easy to know where you came from. I don't know what that is for you guys, and so that's going to be a big key, learning about your ancestry and where your people came from and what your epigenetic material is. what is the stuff that your family went through that is programmed into you. A big thing about this book is like deprogramming from what we have been programmed to do in order to fit into the mold that society has forced, that men have forced, all these different things. Disclaimer, if you don't think you need to read this based off what I'm saying, that's totally fine. If you don't feel like you've been influenced by society in a way that it feels unnatural, excellent. That is so great. I think you're a lucky one. I still think this book is good to read. There's a lot of information. I'm literally on page like 5, so don't judge the book by this. There's crucial information in there that maybe like 10 years down the line you'll be really grateful you read this book. Chances are that is a good case for anyone. So that's a disclaimer. If I sound a lot of like self-helpy right now, and self-help, this book is self-help, but that's not the sole purpose. Yeah, Ancestry, dig into that, learn about yourself. I'll come back to that when I get done with chapter 1. So when you're reading this book, she's going to talk a lot about archetypes and characters and stories, and so we're dealing with characters of stories. And my generation, coming from my generation, I have a lot of Walt Disney movies to go off of. So the Disney cartoons that cemented little girls' princess ideals in their heads, and little boys. Don't get me wrong, I love a lot of Disney now because they're a lot more empowering, but when I was growing up, the ones I was watching, for example, like The Little Mermaid, that was really probably not the healthiest thing for me to be watching. So when Clarissa is talking about these stories and these characters, I think a lot about Disney because I go in and I'm like, oh, this character and this character. And so for me, my mind goes a lot to the characters of the young lady who's trying to find her way, and then the witch, the evil witch, who's trying to destroy her, or this or that or whatever. It's in The Little Mermaid, it was Ariel and Ursula. In Sleeping Beauty, it was Aurora and the Maleficent. And there's a lot, in Snow White, which is older, was Snow White, and the evil witch or queen or whoever who was able to turn in the witch and was the queen in the apple situation. And so there was always this notion of the young woman and the older evil woman battle, and the man trying to save the woman. And I just, that made sense as a little kid. You didn't think anything about it, I guess. But now as an adult, I'm like, why would that be? Why is that real? That shouldn't be real. Like our elders, our elder ladies, I think want the best for the younger ladies, or in my perfect reality, they should. Sorry to use that word, but they should. And so having these hugely marketed films and stories teaching us to be watchful of these ladies with lots of knowledge and witches, in essence, like, I'm a witch, I'm concoct little things, and you could say I do magic. I pray, and that is magic for me. It's like the same thing. And so they instilled in us that this is something to be fearful of, and these women are to be feared, and that in turn these women did fearful stuff to us, and they did, take away our voices, as in The Little Mermaid, and they did feed us poison apples in Snow White, and they did prick our fingers and make us sleep forever in Snow White. But, Clarissa would say, I think, there's more to that story that got removed. And a lot of that story that got removed, and the, man who saves the woman that's been twisted and manipulated, and a lot has been removed, and so we don't really know the stories and the realities. So as I'm reading Women Who Run with the Wolves, I go back to the stories I was fed as a little girl, which are these Disney stories. And they're Disney manipulated stories. They're other people's stories, but they're Disney manipulated stories is what I should say. And I'm just questioning everything. And me in my life now, I'm doing this book club. I want women to support other women. I want all age groups to support other women. I do not feel that these films and stories impacted me harsh enough to make me not trust and like other women. That is on the contrary. I actually don't trust men and trust women. So I'm grateful that the story didn't impact me, but it makes me think a lot about what the stories are being told, and hope for our future young ladies we can give them more profound stories, and that haven't been totally botched and cut up and mismanaged. So that was like a really big tangent on that. I want to go to a new space about the wild woman, and I want to say personally about myself, I have been searching this wildness in me for my whole life, because I was in a wild environment a lot. I grew up on a acreage of woodlands that allowed for wildness, but my world was not wild, and my wild was not okay. And so there was always this awareness of wild, but you were a girl, you were quiet, you didn't speak out, you were nice, you were respectful, all the things that the whole be seen and not heard culture is raising children to be. And so I've always questioned, there's more. What is out there? There's more there. And so one thing that Clarissa details within Getting to Know the Wild Woman is that you can find her in everyday experiences. She is with you always. And I started to get to know her more as an adult, when I had the time to be free with my thought and my whole way of living and habits and things like that. And so Clarissa's really great, because she pinpoints that kind of the ways through to the wild woman is through the senses, through acts of sensory experiences. So and this is more than that. The first one she details is through pregnancy. I'm not a mom. I've never been pregnant. I've never had the opportunity. I've been a nanny, which is pretty beautiful, but I don't know what it's like